Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a School Advisor webinar. Very privileged today. We've got Ashley Lawrence, who explained his job title. Basically, he looks after Africa and Israel for Sonoball.
100%.
So today, I think we are talking about literally one of the most relevant topics for schools. With the push for digital, there is just a huge amount of security and threats, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. If anyone has a question, you are welcome to pop it. You just literally on the right side of your screen, you can log a comment, and then we'll see if Ashley can answer us. So I think without further ado, Ashley, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
So we're talking security, and I think in the webinar title we said under fire. So Ashley, attacks, cyber attacks. What are schools facing at the moment?
Unfortunately, schools are facing exactly the same cyber attacks as does all the other industries. Hackers, ransomware, bad guys basically don't differentiate between schools or industry. They're either looking for money or for startups. So we have phishing attacks, and cryptojacking, ransomware we've kind of spoken about. Cryptojacking is quite an interesting one.
Okay, so what is cryptojacking, and how would it apply to a school?
Okay, so cryptojacking is where malware is introduced to an environment where they take over the computers within a school or within a company.
And so literally, if a learner has a device or in the computer lab, they'll turn it on and they can't access it.
Well, no, it's unknown.
Okay.
So they've taken over those computers and they use them as a resource. So they become a botnet. So they effectively, maybe if you had 200 computers on the school, 300, 400, they use those often to mine for Bitcoin, but it's unbeknown to the user. It's not known that it's being done. So,
wow. Okay.
And again, that's called cryptojacking. The good news is we've seen a decline on that last year. It's down about 75%. Year on year. So that's good news.
Right. So let's jump ransomware.
Yep.
I think that's one everyone's a bit nervous of. So what is ransomware? How would it apply to the school space?
Well, this ransomware is about either stealing or encrypting data for a financial gain.
Okay.
So potentially would expose the school to a cost, as in they would need to kind of pay a ransom.
So I turn on my computer.
Yep.
Something pops up and says, sorry, you can't get in, you have to pay.
Yep.
And there's no way I can access stuff unless I pay.
Correct. So generally speaking, if we look at some of the nastier kind of ransomwares, they encrypt your entire drive. So, and you have a little pop-up that exactly as you described that says, your files are completely inaccessible. So if you search your folders, your documents, you find those documents that have all their extensions been changed and you're completely stuck.
Okay. And then you told me a scary fact. If I pay, what is the chance of me actually getting the data back?
Well, there's two sides to that. So in our research, we are finding that less than 50% of people get their data back.
So you go and pay.
Well, it's not said about payment. Some of the ransomware, so encryption is based on keys. So public keys, a key to lock it and a key to unlock it. So what you've clicked on, unbeknown, on a website by going to a website or opening an attachment that has malware in it, you've then triggered the encryption with a public key. But now you need to find someone with a private key. So if that criminal or hacker is in jail or the code has been deleted or destroyed, your stuff is now encrypted forever. And you cannot decrypt it.
Okay.
The other part is if obviously they do say, contact us and then you pay. And then generally speaking, they want to pay in some kind of dark web currency. So it'll be a Bitcoin or some e-currency. And again,
I can just imagine the IT manager going to the bursar saying, I need some cryptocurrency. I don't think it's going to happen in a hurry.
And these are several $1,000s a unit, so they become quite expensive. In fact, there was quite an interesting conversation with a partner where a client of theirs, not a school, had been encrypted, and they were in contact with a service desk from the encryption company, from the bad guys.
So they had the service
And
desk.
they had, it's a pop-up screen that says, we requested 2 Bitcoin, it was several $1,000s, they said we can't afford it, they said, okay, we'll make it 0.75 of the Bitcoin. And they said, okay, but can we have proof of life? So send me some of my files decrypted, which they duly did. And then they paid half a Bitcoin, I think was the final fee. And then the kind of icing on the cake was they sent a customer service.
Customers rate my service. Yeah. Okay, so I think for the schools that are listening, what do you do in that case? Well, how do you, prevention, cure, what do you do?
So obviously prevention is always going to be better than the cure. And how do you protect ransomware? So one of the things, ransomware often takes place on the endpoint.
Okay.
So that's normally a user
device,
a user error.
Okay.
So either someone thinks they're going to a legitimate website that's actually not.
So you've got a learner clicking on the wrong thing.
Correct. I mean, if we look, another scary statistic, I think 50 more percent on page 2 of the Google searches is malware.
50% of page 2.
So the primary, what people do is there's adverts.
Yes.
And then obviously if you're searching for something, often you'll find that the second pages or the third pages, as you start scrolling down, those are actually not legitimate.
Okay.
So, and again, it's about posting rather than.
Okay. So what components would you actually need for that?
I mean, look, you'd need to put in some form of next-gen antivirus or something to protect the endpoint. So that'll be if it's a student learner, it'll be a tablet or a laptop. And you need to have some form of rollback capability, because in the event that you unwittingly open an email attachment that encrypts your file, or you go to a website and you click on something and encrypt your files, then obviously you'd need to roll back. And that the kind of on the endpoint.
Okay, so to do a rollback within a school environment, you've obviously got teachers with devices, you've got learners with devices, so you would need a solution that would locally have something on each machine, or is it on the network?
It depends on how unfortunate you are. I mean, if it proliferates through the entire network and encrypts whole sections of data, then you'd have to roll back everything.
Okay.
But if it's on an individual level, if it's in faculty, or it's in a certain piece of the network, or it's cloud-based, so maybe you have something in Azure or somewhere, AWS that's been encrypted, then you can roll back.
Okay, so even though I've got something in like some of the Azure, Microsoft, or Amazon in their web services set up, I still need to protect that.
Definitely. That part of our kind of conversations earlier this morning was around, how do we protect against theft of data or protect the systems that the schools have? And again, if we look at traditional networks where components, systems, files and servers were all local, they were on the network, and they were inside the campus of the school. Now they're being hosted, as we've said, in private cloud. So I may have a rack of servers sitting in some ISP in a data center somewhere. I may have it somewhere virtual in the cloud, somewhere like, as we said, AWS or Azure. And you need to protect all of those points. So cloud-based offerings, you need to look at specific security solutions, layered security solutions that cover that. So we have cloud application security products that protect
all of those layers. Because I know a lot of schools are going Microsoft or Google, but 100%. Just because you're doing that, you also still need to be protected. You need to take ownership of that protection.
Yeah, and it needs to be simple. I mean, the other thing is a lot of these solutions are incredibly complex. The great thing about the new products that we launched, I think it was mid last year, the cloud application security products, it's literally it's an API that binds to your Microsoft account. Okay. So your Office 365, it's literally you log into the firewall or the Capture Security Center, the management of the firewalls, and you register, you activate your license, and it says, what would you like to protect? Google Docs, or would you like to protect Office 365? Wow. And we say, great. Office 365, and it takes you to Office 365's account. You log in as an administrator and you say, I'd like to activate it. Tick, that's done.
Okay, so super simple. I like that.
Very simple.
Let's talk. You briefly mentioned stealing data.
Yes.
How big a risk is it for schools?
Very risky, I suppose. Lots of things around that. So there's regulatory compliance around data, so the protection of personal information, and do we need? Is the school going to be held liable if there were not sufficient measures to protect against that?
Okay, so the school could actually, if I go or someone steals the parent database or this kids database.
So that's a I'm not a regulatory expert, but the POPIA Act is something that would certainly need to be considered. Also, you have theft of data for financial gains. So, for example, there may be information around banking, etc.
Yes.
How's that stored? And if that's going to be, if that's stolen, that's obviously for financial gain. So people are trying to take money from those accounts.
Just an observation on that, and I think because we've got a lot of IT managers viewing, it's scary how big the role of the IT manager is becoming, that they actually not only are concerned with the lab or devices, but they also need to be thinking security of the bursar, machine, etc. Okay. Big one then, we're still kind of under the topic of under fire. We've spoken ransomware, cryptojacking, these kind of things. Big one for me, just because I know a lot of schools face it, is you've got 650 learners. Either they are looking at content they shouldn't be, porn, that kind of stuff, or they're trying to change some of their marks, or talk to me about kind of threats when it comes to internal threats.
Okay, cool. Quite a few points to touch on there. So first of all, let's talk about content. So we spoke about inappropriate access for content. And again, if you're looking at a standard kind of primary and high school combination, which is quite common, where you'd have grade 000 through to grade 7, and then obviously they may have on campus a high school. So you'll have different roles and access to various different learners through the school. So you need to be able to manage the content for high school kids versus primary kids, and you have different profiles for learners, educators, and/or guests.
Yes, yeah. So parents or someone in the school,
or you have visitors, or you may have an event, and parents need to make access. So how do you provide different levels of content filtering? So learners are quite vulnerable. In fact, it's quite scary. We were talking about earlier. So there's not only the concern about inappropriate content. I mean, there's inappropriate content from a compliance point of view. Underage people are not allowed to see alcohol. Obviously, the porn and other bits and pieces. There are other things like indoctrination and recruiting. So a lot of bad organizations in the world target schools and high schools specifically to kind of recruit unhappy, disgruntled students.
Oh, wow. So we've actually got dodgy organizations that are targeting schools to access impressionable minds to influence them.
So it's a hunting ground. So you kind of need to ensure that the websites that they're going to are being blocked, that they're not going to any of these sites. And you need to do it automated. You don't want to have to sit there and every time someone comes up with a new website that you have to kind of create a rule to block. The firewalls must do that automatically. You must be able to select a category that says block porn, block YouTube, non-school YouTube.
Yes.
Block, enable Google Safe Search. So I don't want people typing silly things.
Well, I think actually we just had a comment here that said spot on regarding the role of an IT manager. It gets overwhelming at times. You need an automated system to block. So I think that's kind of a core component. Is there's no way an IT manager can be expected with their present load to handle all of this.
What we're seeing quite common is that obviously the IT managers are often staff. Teachers, and/or they're not available 24/7 to protect the school.
Just looking for
looking at a console, looking at dashboards. It's not viable. So what you need is, as we said, real-time automated prevention and remediation. So those are the things that you need to have, and you need to select a vendor that can support them.
So we're going to get on to vendors and what to look for. Just one question came through here. How can we help our bursar to protect the data? Any advice? So you've got a bursar who's generally sitting with all the parents' details, financial info. That's, to me, it's like target right there.
For sure. Well, exactly the same principle for the bursar would apply to anyone else on faculty, headmaster, the rest of them. So protect the gateway. So it's the front door to the kingdom. We need to have a decent gateway firewall. You need to protect the endpoint. So his or her endpoint in the form of a tablet or PC with some kind of next generation antivirus. We're not talking about the old kind of square peg, square hole kind of antivirus. We're talking antivirus with heuristics, machine learning, and obviously rollback capability. So those are the things you need to. So the bursars need to have, it's a layered, unfortunately, it's a layered security.
Layered security. Okay, let's talk, because you are in a school, you're an IT manager. In my opinion, there's no way a school can just have a security expert sitting there doing this. So schools, in my opinion, then would be, there's no way for them, would I be correct in saying there's no way for an IT manager to continuously be clued up in this unless this is all they're doing?
It's 100% right. Okay. I mean, I was chatting to an IT manager at a high school, and he was talking around owning the governance and outsourcing the IT. He said he would love to have a security administrator, but one, there doesn't have enough work, and two, there's certainly no budget for it. So what he talks about is strategic partnering with experts, subject matter experts, and ensure that it's kind of a symbiotic relationship in so much as the security providers understand security from end to end. Their job, their role, their 9 to 5 is staying ahead of all the threats and then sharing that to the various industries that they protect. What the schools need to do or can do is to select their security partner and educate the security partner of what it is they're trying to do. Because obviously security vendors understand the security, but not necessarily all of the industries. So select a partner that understands security in schools, and then so this is what you need to protect and how we're going to do it. Leverage the IP outside of the school.
Okay, so your advice would be key component number one, you need a vendor. You need someone that this is their expertise. You can't just take something off the shelf and plug and play.
100%. Okay. And there's lots of kind of badges one can look for. So there's various accreditations and Gartner Magic Quadrants and various.
So to make this a bit more practical, I'm in a school. I'm either the principal, IT manager. We've got devices. We know the risk is there. How do I evaluate a vendor, a partner that can come in and do this? What are some of the things that I need to be looking for to make sure I'm protected?
Okay. Well, look, obviously, they're standing, how long they've been around. Is it a new company? For example, Sonocall is now in our 28th year, so we're one of the oldest vendors, security firewall vendors in the world. And are they accredited? Do they have all the right certifications and accreditations? So
is that something you
compliant? Is the technology you're buying actually got a SABS stamp? Has it been approved?
Okay, so you actually literally need to ask, show me your compliance.
Certain vendors will have various compliance for FIPS and the various federal government, US, EU kind of regulations. So those are one things that you certainly need to look for. And again, you're looking for a match and an expertise in your market that's relevant to you.
Yes.
So it's all good and well, something fantastic's just come onto the market, but it's like, well, do you have expertise in schools? How many schools have you done? How many tertiary institutions have you done? And again, if you look at, for example, we've done in South Africa, I think for, spoiler alert for tomorrow's presentations, but we have something like 34,000 students protected counting alone.
Wow. Okay. So you are looking, if you're a school, you're looking for credibility, not only on security and reference and on specifically with education. Okay. What else component-wise? And I think for me, so you need a partner, you need to be able to evaluate them. I think the big thing is every school is sitting in a situation where money doesn't grow on trees.
Okay.
And I know a lot of the IT managers or principals will go in here, well, here's an unbudgeted item. So we've spoken essentially, they're underfired, understaffed because they're not a security expert. Now there's this underfunded component.
Correct.
How do they approach this?
Carefully, and as if it was used, shop as if it was your own money. So obviously it's the 80-20 principle. So how much can I mitigate 80% of my risk?
Yes.
With it? So you need to look at the gateway firewall. Will probably take out most of the risk on your network because it's preventative at gateways. So there's that. And when one's evaluating that, first of all, there's obviously, we spoke about referenceability. Yes. We want to potentially have to see it in action. So like POCs, make sure you've seen that. But from a cost point of view, there's some kind of pitfalls that you need to look out for.
Okay.
So again, schools are constantly connected. You cannot afford to be without network connectivity.
Yes.
So high availability is always a must these days.
Okay.
And again, are you paying double for your licensing? So a lot of.
So wait. So I've got a learner who is cutful with the school, wants to take the system down for the day, or someone is trying to get in. You're saying you need
two firewalls.
You need two firewalls. So
high availability. So in the event that your network, if your appliance goes down. You'll safely fail over to another firewall,
okay.
And then obviously your network stays up.
Okay. So do I need to pay for two?
Some vendors will charge you 100% for one and 100% for the other.
And you're saying they shouldn't?
We supply the hardware platform, and then we have a single license that's shared parent sibling across the appliances. So it's a massive cost saving. So be wary of that. That's
okay. So good tip out there: if your present security vendor is charging you for two
dual licenses,
go have a conversation with them, or come chat to Ashley and he'll have the conversation with them. But they shouldn't be doing that.
100%. And other things to look out for, a few tricks. Again, it's about about understanding what's available within the programs of the vendors. So do they have an educational program? Are there any competitive upgrades or secure upgrade programs? We offer up to a 50% discount over a multi-year license for products if we're upgrading from a competitor. So if we're replacing product A with a SonicWall, then you may get up to 50% discount. We have current promotions that are running, which is 3 and free. So you buy 3 years worth of software and you get your firewalls for free.
Okay.
So again, word would be to go and speak to the various partners and or the vendors and ask them, what is the best fix for the school, and are there any current programs that I can utilize? Also, generally, all vendors make those time stamped. So if you're budgeting for 2021, then obviously ensure that these offers are still going to be available.
Okay, so ask. Okay, so we want to respect the time. We want to kind of try keep this down to 25 minutes. So I think the key thing for me is we've spoken a lot about security. Some standalone pointers. If you're a school, don't do it by yourself. 2, find the right vendor, and then make sure you're actually covering every single area. So I think why then, because you're from SonicWall, I have to ask the question, why SonicWall?
Well, we provide a layered security offering. So we'll be able to cover all your threat surfaces. So your public cloud, your private cloud, your appliances, your application, your gateway, your wireless, and obviously your endpoints. Also, we haven't touched on is technologies to protect your remote users. So people that are coming in remotely, and now.
So I know a lot of schools will have a staff member updating remarks or a kid submitting an assignment. Okay, so you can cover that external network as well.
You need to protect all your threat vectors, and you need to be able to manage this from a single pane of glass. So a single console, single user interface. So as opposed to logging into your antivirus vendor, then logging into your firewall vendor, then logging into your wireless access controller, and suddenly And the amount of time that's being spent, precious time from an IT manager from a school, is consumed. Whereas if you need a vendor with a single pane of glass that can manage all of those technologies.
Okay. So that
one
yeah, I'm just thinking because that's a big point for schools. If you're an IT manager, you need to be able to handle everything simply from one place. Otherwise, you're never going to have the time. Talk to me, and I think we've got some questions coming through, but talk to me security as a service
Yes.
versus actually going out and buying the 3-year firewall.
100%. So that rolls back to own the governance, outsource the IT. In the event, I mean, if the options of in smaller schools where they don't have dedicated IT and specifically security skills, going with a security as a service platform is 100% guaranteed operational expense. So it's easy to budget for. You know, you're going to pay a fixed fee per month, and it has a.
Bursa will love that.
Bursa loves it. There's no, in theory, there's no surprises. We run a program called Security as a Service.
Okay.
There's a zero upfront payment. Obviously, there may be some installation charges, but your hardware and software is a monthly fee for a minimum period of a year. And after year 2, if you need to upgrade, there's an option. So you're never going to get stuck. It never belongs to you. Why own the technology when you're at school? You want things to educate, not things to secure. So outsource that. And again, it comes with premium, financial charges, etc. But it's guaranteed, and it's an all-encompassing service. It's a very good model. It's quite well accepted.
I just see we had a comment here from a school that said we were ransomed, had to completely format servers from scratch, cost us a minimum 60K to get up and running again. Lost all our SM Office data, all the MS Office docs were encrypted, Word, PowerPoint, and worst of all, Excel, all the data. Backup was also encrypted. We lost that too. So very, very important to protect your backup too.
Yeah.
So I think for any school out there, and I think it's just the right timing, you mentioned security as a service could be more expensive. This is not cheap, but if you're going to be spending 60,000, and I can imagine that poor IT manager would have spent 3 weeks of his life running around doing all of this, which is just time and effort, which takes you off the teaching. So this, and thank you so much for that comment, because it's just showing that this is happening to schools in South Africa. There's no question about it.
Definitely. And again, there's the big bang of actually trying to do a multi-layered security project in one sitting. It's economically not feasible. But if you're looking at a renewal, everyone has renewals, so you may have an antivirus renewal coming up. Take the time to investigate what else is out there, what's available in the next gen antivirus, what can we do with rollback, can we evolve to the next level of antivirus, which is something that you can do in various budget cycles, so that you don't have a big cost up cost.
All right.
So it's definitely something to look at.
Okay. Sadly, we're going to have to cut there. So Ashley, thank you so much to all of the schools. I think we are going to make this available as a video, which we will email you the link. We'll also email you Ashley's details if you want to pick up if that's right. We'll pick up the conversation. Obviously, Ashley can connect you with vendors that can assist.
Partners local to you and your areas, etc.
So we'll do that. Also, if you found this relevant, maybe there is a Bursa, an IT manager, or someone you want to share this with, you are welcome to share it. I think we're getting some questions, so we're going to officially end here. But what we will do is we'll just stay on if there are any questions that we can answer for anyone that are out there. And then just the last thing, for any schools out there, tomorrow is the 6th, of March. We have an event called Schoolscape. Google Schoolscape. If you'd like to meet Ashley in person, you can meet him there. Next week, Friday, we are in Joburg. So that is Friday the 13th. We're in Midrand. So it's an event called Schoolscape. It's an opportunity for you to connect to really innovative, top-rated suppliers. So if you haven't yet got a ticket, I think tomorrow's event, we've literally got like 5 left. So you're welcome. Just Google Schoolscape. We'll put a link at schoolscape.co.za and you can grab a ticket. But we're going to formally finish there, and we're going to read some of these questions. Ashley, if you've got a couple more minutes.
No problem.
All right, thank you for viewing.
Thank you very much.
That's the formal end. Let's have a look at some of the questions. All right. Okay. Another person was just saying, also learned the hard way that you need to have offsite backup system in place. Question, how often would you update your offsite backup system? We do it every second week. So let's talk backup.
Okay, backup isn't something that Sonical does. That would require some, obviously selecting a vendor or partner that can help that. Again, what I would suggest is some form of service around that, because in theory you don't want to own the tapes, you don't want to own the infrastructure, you don't want to own the hardware and have it as a service. So you just need an SLA that says I'm 99.999 protected and updated.
Yes.
And again, what we would do is provide a layer of security to kind of encapsulate and protect that. But again, as for best practices around backup.
Okay, so talk to me. We were speaking earlier about how you can, if your device gets hit, you can roll back to a saved version.
Yep.
So is that something?
Yes.
So it's essentially a
fail-safe.
It's a fail-safe.
So we have it's something called Capture Client. It is a next-gen antivirus. It has rollback capabilities, and I've tested it with our partners where we ransomware. So we install the software, we activated ransomware on the laptop, and it kind of glitches a little bit, and then it pops up saying that you've been encrypted.
Yes.
The administrator. Well, we did two tests. One is we roll back, so the administrator logs in and he literally clicks roll back. So each individual laptop has what's called a shadow copy.
Yeah.
So we protect and encrypt and encapsulate the shadow copy on that laptop, PC. And when the device becomes encrypted, we go back to that and we roll back to that. So within a few minutes, it's literally rolled back to the last safe state of the laptop.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
that's
takes
for a
away
local machine.
the human factor. And
Yes.
again, that's desktop, PC, Apple, and obviously we do servers as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Are there any other questions? I think we just having some people having some chats on the side, and I think thank you. I know schools are often not wanting to talk about where they have had an issue. So it's that school who did put it out there. Thank you. I think it's something that schools need. Any last questions? Anyone? I think we've covered all the questions that were there. I think that is us.